We're back. We're back with another episode of Lessons in Deeper Wisdom with Higher Thought. That is I and the Shan here in the building. We're getting ready to get into some more deeper wisdom.
I like deep wisdom. You know, that shallow wisdom, it doesn't quite have the same flavor. You know, you gotta get that deeper stuff.
Like way deeper. Like my brain hurts deeper.
I was talking to some people the other day and they were telling me we were getting into a deep subject and they were just like, man, you're making my head hurt. I'm like, yeah, that's really kind of how it rolls with me. Just I like that stuff to get you thinking.
Yeah. But see, I always wonder, like, okay, when is the head hurting point? Like, what is that? What do you mean your head is hurting now? I don't know if I've actually experienced that. So I'm like, what is that point?
Well, you're open to change. When you're not, when your head hurts is when you get to a point where your brain doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to accept what you're hearing. So it's fighting you.
It's like, yeah, nah, man, we ain't doing this no more. We're done. We're done. We don't, nothing. All right, that's enough. Tell them to stop. Tell them to stop. That's enough.
Exactly.
That's enough.
So what's our headache subject today?
Well, this really might be a headache subject today. I don't know, but it's how to survive society.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, how to survive society.
Well, that's a deep subject. That is definitely a deep subject because depending on who you talk to, there's a lot of different ways you can tackle that.
Well, we're going to talk to Higher Thought in the Shan today.
Who are those guys? I don't even know who those. What, okay, fine. We'll talk to them. We'll talk to them.
Us a couple of wise nobodies.
I wouldn't consider us nobodies. I mean, we're
somebodies.
Everybody is somebody to somebody who loves them. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well played.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But okay, so how do we survive society? What are we surviving here? What is the big bad about society?
Life. Like I feel like society is the life that we live on a day-to-day basis. The life that we construct around ourselves to move in a forward direction to what's next or what's now.
Well, I hear a lot of people talk about that, and they're they get really bent out of shape, and they're like, society is so terrible, everything is so bad.
Yeah, but we are society.
Well, that's part of the problem too, because they don't realize when you're talking about how bad it is, you're talking about us. Like it's not other people, it's what we're doing. But it's like, what I try to tell them is like, you think society is so bad, but we're living in the most peaceful time in the history of humankind. I mean, we have the capability more so than any other time to destroy ourselves, and yet we don't. You know what I mean? So society is, it has its ups and downs, and it's rough, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I think what's changed is us as a group of people. We no longer have the same struggles that we used to have, in ancient times. So, you want some milk, you don't go milk the cow, you go to the store. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not as hard.
It's not. And I feel like with the way that we are now compared to those times, I mean, not that I can remember those times being there, I'm young whippersnapper here. But it's my perception of things is that we are a bunch of beings who are connected to each other, yet are ununified. And that creates a society that seems like you have to survive it and not just live in it.
I feel you on that. That separation creates anxiety and conflict and want and greed and all that stuff. I feel you on that. And I can understand how that would be difficult. So I have a few ideas on how to survive, so to speak, the society if you really have to. If you really feel like it's that bad, how do you survive it? And I was thinking about this when we were talking about it earlier, just what does it take? A lot of people get all upset about, having money, having lack, too many people being greedy, that sort of thing. And so they get caught up in that and what's wrong. And they don't even focus on what's right. So they miss half of it. So I say like the first step would be, recognize the truth about what society really is. Most of the time, things are peaceful. Most of the time, things are boring. I mean, there's really nothing crazy going on. The illusion of it being a crazy society is the fact that we have a 24-hour news cycle. So everything that happens, feels like it's happening directly to you when it's one out of like a million people who did something dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it is kind of interesting with that 24-hour news cycle to where you're not waiting for something to come out in the paper.
Yeah, it just keeps happening over and over.
You have direct access to it almost immediately.
Yeah.
And now with social media, you have video and firsthand accounts of things that are happening in the moment in real time, which I think is great. I think it's awesome advancement. But at the same time, we have also become very addicted to it, and we've also been using it in like some of the worst ways.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
And so people who kind of have control over a lot of the media are pushing it in that direction in a sense. But I mean, if people are going to keep eating it, why not keep feeding it to them?
Well, and that's my thing. People don't take responsibility for the fact that if you stop watching that stuff, people will stop putting it on air. If the ratings drop, they will change.
Yeah, everything is about eyes and views and attention.
Yeah.
TikTok won't show your video if it doesn't follow the algorithm.
There's that. And the algorithm is dictated by likes, by what people actually
nobody's watching it. They're not about to pub that. Whatever it is you did, they don't care about your little cat video.
Don't knock cat videos, man. Cat videos are the heart and blood.
You know what? You're right. Bad example.
That's like what I watch on TikTok.
Will never go away. They will never go away. They are like a baseline, always watched category.
Because cats are cute.
Do you think more people watch Lessons in Deeper Wisdom if we hashtag cat video?
Ooh. Yeah, but that would be deceptive. We do not use cats in that way. Okay, cats are noble creatures.
Meow. Cat video. Now we can hashtag it. Now we're not lying.
You did not just mew.
Now I just made a cat video.
You made it. Okay, that's not exactly what I think they're looking for, but that's still deceptive advertising. But we can see. Don't worry, people are going to watch our show not because of mews and cat videos. We're going to find a different way of going about it. But anyway, like I was saying, that's. I agree with you that people have a tendency to look at the worst and to really kind of focus on the 24 hours of bad news. But there's a ton of good news out here too, and if we focused on that, we'd probably see more of it. So I think that's really part of the problem. But I think people's perspective on society is built off of what they consume, what information that they consume. And like you said, social media is bombarded with all of this negativity and what, sensationalized stuff where, everything went wrong. And, there was a school shooting and there was, somebody, set fire to a house or whatever. And you just get,
that for sure is one of my biggest pet peeves with social media, because it's like, we've been extremely desensitized to a lot over the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years, especially the last 5 to 10. Because you could be on social media now, you could be scrolling through X or Twitter, whichever you want to call it.
You know what? I dropped that the moment Elon took over. I was like, you know what? This is dumb. And I will not be a part of this. Yeah. And everybody's like, well, it's a part of our ingrained in our. No, it's not. It is if we let it. If everybody just left X and said, forget it, and went to some other social media, it would tank in about a week. But people keep propping it up with, well, it's been popular for so long, and I have a social media following. You know what? Develop another one. Just show Elon we don't like you.
Well, right now it's either going to be. It's X and TikTok right now are the big X, TikTok, and doggone it, what's the streaming site now? Twitch. So
Twitch is gaming. I mean,
yeah, but it's as far as media, like it's huge now. It's one of those places. But with X or Twitter, you can be scrolling on there And doesn't matter what your algorithm is, it seems like you could be going through whatever, and then, oh, hey, you want to see a dead body? Oh, hey, want to see somebody get shot? Oh, hey, want to see this head get like, and it's like, yo, I wasn't really. Or you can get, the adult content that will randomly be tweeted out or retweeted by someone else, and it's like, yo, see, this is why I cannot be on this app in public, because you have no idea what's going to pop up. But again, we've been desensitized to so many negative things that it's just there consistently.
I think we've been desensitized to crazy people with a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, and that's really what this is.
Yeah,
okay?
that part too, like to where that is just a norm. We expect people who are very wealthy to
be eccentric. No, they're eccentric. No, they're just crazy. They're the same as your cousin who fell in love with the couch, okay, or decided that he was talking to the shed in the back, and the shed was a portal to another dimension. You know what I'm saying? That
could be possible.
Okay,
that couch had a very nice fabric. Let's be fair.
You know what?
It's comfortable. You could take a good nap on it.
there's okay. First of all,
it's a very nappable couch.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's that kind of crazy with $1 billion in your pocket. They call eccentric, and it's still crazy. It's just got a different label because you got money. Okay, there's something very wrong with Yeezy. I'm sorry. There's something very wrong. Everyone knows this, but everyone's like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Something's wrong with him. Okay, something's wrong with him. Something's wrong with Elon. Something's wrong with Trump. They're all got something going on that does not make sense. When you have a black man talking about Hitler did some things right, that's wrong. There's something's wrong with your head. You need some therapy, Thorazine, or a good hug. Something to make things okay. And that's all I'm saying is, like, we've gotten comfortable with allowing the crazy people in society to dictate what's normal and to change the new normal. And the bottom line is this: we are in control. Ultimately, we are in control by what we consume. And if you consume more cat videos than you do dead body videos, then you're probably not going to see dead body videos. Or if the platform shows them to you, leave the platform. You know what I'm saying? I left X like immediately, because I was like, when they said, well, there's more Nazis now than ever before. Yeah, check, please. I'm done with I'm out at Nazis. I'm sorry. I can't see it. Maybe I'm super sensitive and I don't care about freedom of speech, but I don't want to be on the same team, platform, or just hanging out with Nazis.
They're going to sneak their way into any platform, but
and sneak is how they should. Yeah, it shouldn't be like,
their way into any
come
platform.
on in, guys.
I mean,
you're cool too.
Any minimal idea that is seen as fringe or negative or out of pocket, off to the left a little bit, a little weird, whatever, they will all sneak their way, good or bad. We'll all sneak their way into some kind of facet on a social media platform.
But that's my point. They should have to sneak their way in. It should not be like, it's okay for you to come in. They should know you got to crawl underneath that rock, okay, and stay there. It shouldn't be okay to be blatantly and openly racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, or just anti-democratic. It should not be okay to just be like flat out, I don't like this particular group of people, so I am going to shout from the rooftops that they are animals and call them everything under the sun. You should have some, a level of decency and decorum on any social platform. That's how society is sustained, is that they understand that there's lines and you don't cross them. And if you do, well, there's consequences. You know what I'm saying? You can't yell fire in the theater for a reason, because it causes reactions that are negative for overall society. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying people need to be controlled. I'm saying we should, as a society, decide what the boundaries are for, what's basic, decent human behavior. And calling for the extermination of Jews, or calling for, talking about Sandy Hook wasn't real, or Parkland wasn't real, and all that kind of stuff, that should have consequences, and that's what I'm saying is, like, the reason why society seems so bad is because we're just accepting, that it's okay to burn books now. It's okay to not teach Black history. It's okay to be, to say, I don't really like your lifestyle, so I'm going to legally deny you the right to live the way you want to. You know what I'm saying?
So at what point then does what we call society begin to change into something like that? Is that possible? Because I would say that I've reached a point, in at least my belief stance or whatever, that we are very, 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 very far from what I believe to be a sustainable society.
I disagree.
I disagree. We're far from it.
See, and this is where we're gonna have some disagreement on this one.
No, that's cool. But is it? I think we could get there a lot faster. We have the capability. The thing is, we have the capability. I just don't have that much faith that it would be within the next 10 years that we get there. I think it's going to take us much longer.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on what you consider to be a sustainable society. All societies change. I mean, they grow and they morph and they become something different. They all do that. The only time they, generally speaking, when a society is about to fall is because it's stagnated. It gets caught up in an old way of thinking, an old way of being, and it stays that way. And then it can no longer adapt to changes because it's too busy trying to maintain what was instead of adapting to what is. And our society doesn't have that problem.
Well, no, I believe our society is shifting currently.
Well, and that's the point, is that any society that can change can grow. Any society that can't change grows brittle and falters. Okay? The old way of doing things doesn't survive in the new paradigm. For instance, I was talking to some young people, actually just yesterday at work, and I showed them something that they had never seen before, the 1920s Tulsa Massacre. And, it was the intro to that HBO show, Watchmen, and it showed the 1920s Tulsa Massacre. And people had never seen it, and they were freaking out. They were like, wait a minute, is this real? I'm like, yes, it happened. And it also happened 522 more times during a course of a few years after that, where they massacred whole small towns of black people.
Massacred them, put them underwater.
Exactly.
There's a lot that is not necessarily taught or swept under the rug.
Right.
And that's beyond even just what was done to black people here. So, I mean, you can even look here in Detroit where there's been a lot of that just historically. I mean, look at Black Bottom and what they did to put 375 there. For what reason? you know
what I'm saying? And then like look at Henry Ford and like his history. Like I didn't know up until recently that he was the inspiration for Hitler. You know what I'm saying? And like his books, his writings, his teachings or whatever were what got Hitler all onto this anti-Jewish bent. And I was like, well, we talk about the past either with, these rose-colored goggles that say, oh, we were a great American society and blah, blah, blah. But we talk about today as if it's worse. And it's not. It's significantly better on a lot of different fronts. The reason why we're having this resurgence of negativity that's going on is because we keep looking back and forgetting how bad it was and thinking that any little flare up right now is the end of the world. It's not. Society is growing and changing. And the simple fact that we can actually have the conversation without shooting each other is huge. Because before, guess what? We shot each other in this country. We got mad about two different philosophies on a way to be, on who can be humans and who can't. And then we murdered a whole bunch of each other in order to resolve the issue. We are not doing that right now. We're having heated, angry, loud debates on YouTube and freaking Twitter and whatever else, all these different platforms, but we're just talking for the most part. And people yell and scream and, throw turkey legs at Thanksgiving. But not that happened in my house, but I'm saying people are getting mad about that stuff because they think that it's the first time this has come up. There was a Nazi movement here in like the 1940s. Rachel Maddow she's got a podcast that's all about the Nazi movement in the United States and how they almost performed a coup in the United States Congress. In the United States, they almost took over the country and, aligned with the Nazis. And they only got busted up because they started gathering weapons and stuff and they got caught. But I'm saying these forces have always been here. They're not new. There's always been violence and anger and all this other stuff. But now, cops who shoot people for no reason, they got a pretty good chance of going to trial. I mean, not as much as we'd like, of course, but when they shoot someone unjustly, they got a pretty good chance of going to trial now, and that's been proven. So guess what? They're less likely to shoot people. You know what I mean? When you have people who do dirty deeds behind closed doors, social media can almost always put them on blast, okay? And they get caught.
Twitter, do your thing.
Man, forget Twitter, man. Forget X. They violated my X-Men with that.
Twitter, do your thing. I've seen that multiple times.
I will not go back on Twitter until Elon's gone. When he finally figures out that this isn't going to work, but it's working. That's the disturbing part, and it's going to work for as long as he allows the crazy people to do crazy stuff, and that's going to work for about a hot minute. It's not sustainable because ultimately everybody's in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Most people are in the middle. They don't want to hear all that crazy stuff. It's fascinating for a little bit. It's fascinating to watch the train wreck that is Twitter, you know what I mean, for a minute. And then after a while, you're like, man, come on.
But see, then I think that's where it depends on what side of Twitter you're on. It depends what side of Twitter you're on.
Yeah.
Because it's strange. It's very strange.
You got your blue check mark?
Do I? No, I'm not buying anything. I'm not paying. No, I'm not. I'm just not. Sorry, Elon. I'm not paying for it.
You gotta get your blue check mark, buddy.
No, unless it is like
you get your blue check mark, and then he gets the little implant he can put in your brain later.
Yeah, you're not Neuralinking me either. Sorry, I'm not subscribing. Not subscribing to that. I'm cool. Plus, I really kind of just tweet. I talk to myself on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm one of those people. I just tweet into the abyss. I mean, I might interact with people as far as like commenting on theirs or like quote tweeting and stuff, but for the most part, I'm just talking to myself. But for me, I really use Twitter for news, sports, and looking up the weird, deep knowledge, wisdom stuff, whatever pages I could find and see, all right, where are the other like minds and, permanent, and see what other people's thoughts are, like what they're researching and things like that, and interact and exchange ideas. But other than that, that's, my use of X or Twitter. So I don't even really see a necessary need for me to have a blue check mark. I don't really care. I verified me, so I know who I am.
But Elon has not verified you.
Yeah, that's cool.
You haven't been verified by the Musk.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, so I think I've got some keys. I wrote some stuff down because I take notes now. I'm being organized. Look at that. It's a new day.
You know what? They're proud of you. They're proud of you.
So I thought about the whole idea of how do we survive society? Okay. So first things first, if you want to survive society, the first thing you have to do is know yourself. And I don't mean like, okay, well, I know who I am. I got, my name's Stan. I got a job, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, really delve into who you are as a person, really analyze what you truly believe about things and what you truly believe about society and where you think you fit in this society. If you can do that and get a good idea of where you are and who you are, then you know at least where you're starting from. If you start from the concept that I have nothing to contribute to this society, or that I am not a part of this society, or society hates me, then you got some work to do, because that means you're not going to be the best participant if you already think the world hates me and there's nothing I can do, or I'm powerless. Most people, I won't say most people, a lot of people have a tendency to believe that they are powerless in this society, which is absolutely wrong. Because the 99% of us who actually are the regular citizens who have the ability to vote, we literally hold the keys to the car. We decide where things go. And people can say all that, oh, well, they can rig an election. No, they can't. The reason why it's difficult for other countries to mess with our elections, because like we get, as the United States can go into other countries and just screw with their elections all day long, because of the fact that they have a centralized election voting system. So we mess with one, we mess with all. For us, every single state, and within each state, almost every county has different rules for how you vote, which means in order to mess with our elections, you have to go at the county level in a lot of cases and screw around with all of those different elections. And in order to rig an election, that is literally millions of counties that you got to mess with. And that's not even possible. So if you understand that that's the case, then messing with our elections is almost impossible to do. Rigging an election is almost impossible to do. Even if you're in this country and have the ability to mess with things, doing it without being seen, almost impossible. They've had, in the last like 5 years, 5 or 10 years, they have had literally 1,200 cases of election tampering out of 330 million per year. That is a ridiculously low number. Not enough to even move anything in any given direction. And those are the ones that are all known about and caught, because they've all gotten caught. So you start with that. If you know who you are and you know your power and you know I literally contribute to this collective to change what society is, that gives you a good starting point. The next thing, you got to purge hindering beliefs. Anything that tells you you are powerless or weak, or that you don't have anything to contribute, like they said in Hustle and Flow, it is every man's God-given right to contribute a verse. You know what I mean? We all have something to contribute to the society. We all have something that we can give, whether we know it or not. You figure it out by knowing thyself. When you figure out who you are, then you'll figure out what your contribution is. And once you start to figure out what your contribution is, then you can get rid of those hindering beliefs that stop you from contributing your verse.
Now, I will say, even though that's number 2, that might be number 1 as far as difficulty.
Yes, it is.
That might be number 1 as far as difficulty. And the reason I say that is because when it comes to eliminating those ideas and beliefs, it's hard for people to even identify certain thoughts and beliefs as being hindering.
Yeah.
They might not even recognize, oh, no, wait a minute, this is hindering. It's hard to be like, all right, let me go into the library of the mind. Let me go find the limiting belief section. And all right, let me pull this book out. Oh, yep, this is the one. Trash it. Like, it's difficult because then you also have what I would call the invisible walls.
I'll show you a trick to identify those, though. Those are hard. You're absolutely right. Those are very difficult because we can't see them. We got blinders on for them. But here's how you can identify them. Take an idea or dream that you have. Doesn't matter how crazy or ridiculous it is. And say, I am going to do this tomorrow. And then watch what your mind tells you. Write down what your mind tells you, because it will give you a list of hindering beliefs off rip. As soon as you try to step past where you are and move into that next level of what you want to achieve, it will run down a list of why it won't work. And that's how you identify your hindering beliefs.
I am going to buy a private jet tomorrow filled with jet fuel. And I also get free jet fuel and an amazing pilot. Okay. Yeah, you better not say nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, mine.
But that's what I'm saying. If you try something like that, like I'm going to be an actor next week. You say I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to be an actor. Watch how your brain gives you. Well, you don't have a car, or you don't have the money to get out to California. Or you've never acted before. It gives you the list of why you can't do it. If you write it down, you know what your hindering beliefs are, and you know what you need to get rid of, or at least tackle. If it says you don't have the talent, well, I've taken acting classes now, so I can that hinders that gets rid of that one. Well, I've worked this job that I didn't like for a long time, and I saved up a bunch of money to go to California, so that eliminates the money one. You start eliminating those belief systems, and then you basically break down those walls, and then until eventually your mind cannot come up with an excuse.
Yeah, and I would equate that to it's like having a healthy competition with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I love sports, mainly basketball is my first love. Love basketball, and so me being, I was the only boy at the house, so I would play basketball by myself a lot. And when I would shoot, I would always practice shooting because, I mean, I couldn't play defense against anybody unless, friends came over or cousins or whatever. But I would talk junk to myself like, it was almost like I was pretending to be the defender talking garbage towards me.
Yeah.
And I would always, I don't know, go at it as if it was a real person.
Yeah.
And it was like
Push
a
yourself.
healthy competition. Yeah, it was I work out that way too.
Yeah.
It's in one of my buds, I call him a pro bro. Shout out to Murphy. He had me do a workout with him the other day. And he's always laughing when I work out with him because when I'm lifting, it's constant trash talk, but it's only towards me. It's never it's like I'm my own personal trainer, but like just saying just wild stuff to myself. It's just like, wow, okay, like it's more entertaining than anything, but to me it's healthy competition.
Well, that's the best competition because that's going to push you to grow, even more than having to compete against somebody else, because you, and so where your limits are, and so if you're pushing your limits and if you're not, so when you can push and make that happen. I like that.
Welcome to halftime. Give yourself and your mind a moment to rest. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And slow, deep breath out through the mouth. Focus only on your breath. Take another slow, deep breath in. And another slow, deep breath out. Feel better? Good. We want to take this moment to thank you for listening and watching this podcast. We hope you take something positive from it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment your light bulb moments. We also want to thank one of our biggest sponsors that make this podcast possible, Podcastic. Check them out at podcasticlife.com. Back to the wisdom.
So, okay, we're on number 3. Number 1 and 2 were know thyself and purge hindering beliefs. Number 3 is the most important one of this entire list. Take action in the direction that you want to go. And that is whether you're involved in a political campaign, whether you're trying to get into a social thing where you're trying to, help people or enlighten people or teach people or whatever it is, you have to take action. Most people will tell you all about their dream. And the moment you ask them, well, what have you done? Well, I'm still working on the concept, AKA I haven't done shit. I haven't done anything. And I'm guilty of this, where I overthink. My guilty pleasure is I over research. You give me a topic that I want to work on,
I'll just dive.
Dude, I will dive head first into a ocean of research about this and end up 6 hours later, not having done a single thing or written a single thing about it. But the key to surviving in a society is to take action against those things that you dislike or that you consider to be a hindrance for society, and to take action for those things that will make society better. That means you got to get up, get out, and do something. And that's the hard part for most people. They want to talk about it or philosophize about it, but not take action. And next, you got to analyze the results. E.T. the hip hop preacher said it best. If you cannot you cannot analyze the results of your actions or your goals, and you can't come up with a number or something that shows that there's been progress, then you're not really doing anything. You have to be able to come up with tangible results that can be analyzed so you can say whether or not you're moving in the direction you want to or making progress towards your goal. Otherwise, you have no idea. You're just treading water. And the last, I'm sorry, not the last thing, but the next thing you got to do is once you analyze those results, you have to be freaking grateful for the fact that you were even able to contribute or participate or at least attempt to do something. There's a lot of people who were in the civil rights movement who were not Dr. Martin Luther King, who got hit in the head with baseball bats and dogs sicked on them and water hoses put on them. And they did not get their name in the paper Nobody came and, gave them a Nobel Peace Prize or anything like that. They just walked with him, and they were in the crowd of people, but they were equally as important as the man up front. And those people contributed to the changing of the society. And we should be grateful as individuals and as a society for those type of people and for our ability to be able to do that. The simple fact that you live in a society where you actually could have an impact if you work hard enough, and if you truly want to, you could change things if you get up and move. The fact that you live in a society where that's possible is a reason to be grateful. And the last step in all of this is repeat the process. This is not a one-off type of thing. Societies don't stay the same. They thought, the civil rights bill passed, and we have voting rights now, and we codified those in the law, and everything's great. Guess what? They just gutted the Voting Rights Act. They took away a lot of the protections for southern states. So it's a constant battle between the forces that wish to take us backwards to the way things used to be, and thus end up with the stagnation and death of our society, and those of us who want to be progressive move forward and change along with the changing times.
Well, yeah, and that's where I feel like there's always going to be these opposing forces and ideas battling, right? Which is why I also say that we are a long way from getting to where we need to be.
We never get there.
It'd be a long. I think it's possible. It's just so long before, because at some point certain ideas won't be able to exist.
Exactly.
And we'll have new negative ideas, but exactly. You know what I mean. But at the same time, there'll be babies. You know what I mean. And it'll be an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And I felt like it's just a time thing. And where we are now is we're at this weird juncture where certain aspects of society are dying, and new aspects of society are starting to be birthed, and it's pretty much like it's a weird transition period.
Yeah.
And right now we're trying to figure out which beliefs and systems are actually going to be here and which ones are not. And there are some that are not, that we know are not, that are fighting and clawing and scratching to remain relevant. And so I can see where it actually could be difficult to understand the way to go as far as trying to survive, society, whatever that society is. Because it can vary, city by city, state by state, country by country, region, whatever.
Yeah. But just remember, and this is the key thing, again, number one, know thyself. Understand, we're in control. The illusion that the elites are in control is just that. It's an illusion. It's not real. We are in control. And we are in control. Think of it this way. At any given point, I think, and this is going to be a controversial statement, but if anything, January 6th taught us something, that 10,000 people with a bad attitude can make a change. And they came very, very close to making change in a drastically terrible way. And that's the truth of how the society works. We are the masses. We make the decisions based on what we do and what we allow. Now, if we allow the January 6th people to just dictate how things are going to go, well, then that means violence is the only way to solve things anymore. And that's not the way we all want to be. So we've decided they need to be prosecuted. And so we're on board with them going to jail, most of us. If we decide as a group, we no longer want politicians who lie to us, whether you're a progressive or a conservative or Republican or a Democrat, if we decide we no longer want that, then the Republicans and the Democrats who lie to us will not get elected anymore. We simply go and say, hey, you know what? You guys are liars. We're completely done with you. We're going to go with this guy over here who nobody knows, but who tells the truth. And we're going to vote that guy in. Yeah,
but we have to get to that point. If that's the way to go, we have to get to that point as a whole versus, spewing the same rhetoric of, all right, let's vote for the lesser of two evils.
Well, yeah.
How about we just not vote for either?
The problem is this: when the society, the way it's set up, like, because I had this argument with somebody the other day. They were talking about, I want to vote for, I want to vote my conscience. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But then there's an evil that is annoying and something we don't like, and there's an evil that ends our process. The one that ends the process and no longer allows for the process to work anymore can't have that. So yeah, and that's a situation. It's a punch in the face or a gunshot to the head. Okay, that's really what you're looking at. I'll take the punch in the face over the gunshot to the head.
But we can also choose
not yet. We're not there yet because we're not there yet. Now, once we are there won't be a question, because they won't even get to the point where it's a lesser of two evils, because neither of the evils will get to the point that they get to a primary. The problem we have is that we think that, big money is always going to influence it. You know where big money gets all their money? From us. If you decide, I will no longer support anything financially that Elon Musk or people like that do, and we as a society decide that, guess what? He goes out of business.
But see, there again, there's the choice. We have the option to choose neither. We just have, well, I wouldn't say we just, most people just have not. And it's very possible they just have not. You can choose neither evil. You can choose.
No, you have to choose something.
Option.
You have to choose.
No, you can choose a better option other than voting for it. It's not a, we can
give me a better option.
We can look at it as a two-party system, but there are other parties. Yes, I'm with you on that. They are the two that are propped up to mostly due to that's just what gets publicized more. That's who raises the most funds. So they are able to get around a campaign more. But again, that's what people choose to pay attention to. So that's where your attention goes, and that's where all of the money and power will follow. But if we decide, hey, you know what? If we really truly decide, because you can look around and you can see people, people are tired. Yeah, people are fed up. Yeah, people know that they don't, for the most part, trust the people that are in power. I mean, there may be better on the local level, but the higher you go, the harder it is to believe in those people. And so, I mean, at some point that, I think people are waiting for that straw that breaks the camel's back, or they're waiting for the system to correct itself, or they're waiting for some savior.
And therein lies the problem.
But and so they're waiting for, a savior or something, or someone else to fix it for them, or in another way of us being not necessarily united, because we don't necessarily all agree on the certain or same things, and it's tough. It's a little bit of a losing battle, but at some point everybody's going to have to get into the ring.
Well, and that's the issue. Most people don't want to get in the ring. Most people, when you start to have this discussion with them, they don't want to talk about it, because it's such, they're like, it's hard to think about. Yeah, it is. We have become lazy as an electorate. The issue we have right now is the alternatives that I've seen out there, especially in the other parties. One of them can't even answer. The question that was asked was, can you name 5 world leaders? And this person who is running for the seat of president of the United States could not answer that question. And if you can't answer that question, you can't be president.
Well, see, then we also have to take a look at how it is that we pick our presidential candidates, how it is that we let people get into politics. What exactly is their background? What are we looking at for?
To be honest, I don't care about a lot of their background. I look at
so like, what are we looking at for the leader of the place that you live in? And that's it's.
I'll tell you. This is what I look for in a leader. Do you understand what leadership is and the illusion that it is? Most people think that leadership is just being in charge and telling people what to do. It is not. Leadership is the understanding that you have been given a service, a charge to serve a group of people, and therefore their interests are your focus. And when you look at that and you try to balance all the different people within your group and make that focus your focus, then you're doing your job. When you start off with the fact that I deserve, you failed. Period. You failed, because you are not important in that equation. Leaders know that.
Do they? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Look at the
true leaders, yes, but then you're not. Most true leaders don't want to be leaders.
Well, and that's the issue,
and which is very understandable, because unless you're in a leadership position, sometimes you don't understand what it takes to become a leader and what that all involves, because it's tiring.
Oh, it's life draining. It's life draining.
It's tiring, and nobody wants to be honest. I don't think there's many people who want the stress of being the leader of this country.
No,
that I mean, I don't want to say I enjoy seeing, because that would be the wrong word, but it's interesting to see. There we go. The change in hair of the presidents when they first go in and when they leave out.
They look like totally different people.
Totally different people. It's like, ooh.
That was costly.
4 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes 8, but 4 years. And it's that much of a no, there's a lot of stress levels there that turn your hair gray that quickly.
Well, I can tell you, like, I always use the Marine Corps as my base. I only served for 4 years. And I say that people's like, only, why do you keep saying only 4 years? That's 4 years. I'm like, yeah, when you think about it, it's actually a long time. And I look at the difference between who I was when I went in and the person I was when I got out. And they're two completely different people. And that was just me dealing with me in service to my country. I can't even imagine having the life and death decisions that you have to make, both overt and covert, that a president has to make on a daily basis just to keep things functioning per normal. So yeah, I think that we as a people need to be less lazy about our picks and stop. Like, I watched, I think one of the most brilliant people in our news media is Jordan Klepper. He is a brilliant, brilliant man. And the way he goes about finding out information and asking people questions and getting things going is just extraordinary. But he gets people to, he asks them questions and walks them around this logic loop that shows that they have no idea why they are voting for who they're voting for in a whole lot of cases. They watch some meme on Instagram or whatever, and they use that as their basis for how to pick a president.
Well, then can we blame society's version of education?
No, we can blame society, because there are people who don't have access to books who learn how to read.
And that's what I mean by society's version of education, because as a society, our education is very poor.
I'm going to tell you this.
The philosophy behind the way that we teach has not changed, is not advanced.
That's not the issue. That's not the issue. We like to blame societal structures, but I'm going to tell you this. I grew up in the east side of Detroit. Detroit public schools were not great when I was coming up. And I want to tell you, I got into an argument with the teacher one time because she was giving us these words, and I said, these words are ridiculous. These are freaking 5th grade words, and we're in freaking high school. I'm not doing this because it's too simple. And she's like, some people in here don't know these words. And it was because I decided to read. I like to read. I made it my point to go and educate myself. I read comics. I read books.
But that's a minority.
Honestly, it's not. The people just have chosen. There's two things that are responsible: personal responsibility and societal responsibility. Societal responsibility comes from our own personal responsibility. If you don't teach your kids, if you don't teach yourself, if you have no desire to learn more, to be more, then you can't force society to offer more. They're going to give you the least that they have to. And if your focus is on what the Kardashians are doing, or, what young Lil Yachty is doing, or, who's got the next, album coming out. If you're not even, it's like we were talking about earlier, the difference between understanding rap, and, just liking just rapping, or understanding what lyricists do. The art form is far more complex than just a good beat and somebody just saying words. It's far more complex. And if you,
but you don't go to middle school, high school, or elementary school and have the art form of rap. And especially now with the school systems, it's more like that is what we have been conditioned to rely on to teach people. It just is, whether it's right or not, whether people choose to read at home or teach their kids or not, they're relying on the school system to teach their kids, because that's what people are used to doing. That's where you go to learn, and then you come home and now you deal with home life. But they, for the most part, if they have the ability to teach their kids, how much time do they have to do so? At that point, then, okay, well, let's do homeschooling.
I'm not saying do homeschooling. I'm saying, like, there have always been sources for information. And now the internet has an almost unending wealth of information. I was talking to these kids the other day, I call them kids, but they're 20-year-olds. And I was trying to explain to them, like, you don't understand what it's like to go to a library and have to look up the index cards to find a book to get to a subject that you want, because you at any point have a device in your pocket that holds an entire library in it, and you can pull it out, type in Google your subject, and find out everything you want to know about it.
Right. So then their rebuttal would be, okay, so then why do I need to know it if it's already right here? In that moment, I can have it. They're not used to that world. People in my generation, we've had the best of both worlds. I typed my first school paper on a typewriter. I had to go to the library and look through, encyclopedias to do my Black History project.
Me too.
Yes, I grew up in a time where not everybody had a computer in their home.
Me too.
But this generation, their computers are in their hands. They're growing up in a completely different world.
Absolutely.
I've even taught at some schools with, when I do my meditation stuff at some of these schools, and it's like, these kids are actually very brilliant, but they might not realize how brilliant they are and how much more brilliant they can be, because it's not nurtured in that same way. They don't have the gumption and they're also kids. They don't know. They're only going off of what they're told and conditioned to be and do until they come into this realization, possibly when they get older, or if they haven't been sucked into the lifestyle of whatever it is that they've gone into.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. That's the whole point. They've grown up with this wealth of knowledge. They are brilliant. The only issue they lack is guidance. They need to understand what to do with this superpower that they've been given of just ridiculous amounts of information.
That's not their fault.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying we as a society have to contribute to that, where they are getting their information in a way that draws them towards a more educated, more well-rounded, like when I was talking to these young kids the other day, I showed them the 1920 massacre in Tulsa. They had never seen it before, not because it didn't exist, but because no one had ever showed them before. And it's our job to say, okay, if we want a better society, then we have to show them things using the tools that they are already using. Not saying, here, let me give you this book to go read, because they're not going to read it. They live in 5-minute, TikTok, or 30-second TikToks, and you have to reach them in that time. And you do that by using the means by which they are already engaged. And if we do that, that's your new education system. You can disseminate that information to millions of kids all at the same time by making it trending, putting it in a way that's entertaining. There are literally cartoons out there right now that go over American history, the American system. I was watching the other day where they show you what actually happened, but they do it in this cute little cartoon way, and then you get the same information that you would get if you read the book.
So then why not change the school curriculums to include that?
You know what? You are starting to hit on some ideas there, young man.
Just saying. Unless there's, some kind of reason of why you want people to learn a certain specific kind of way. But hey.
The powers that be do not want to lose power. The dinosaurs don't want to die. But sometimes, you got to get your spear out and go hunt that woolly mammoth.
I mean,
you got to hunt that T-Rex. You got to do what you got to do. But we are probably up on time, sir. I am sure.
Well, we got about 5 minutes.
Really?
We got 5 minutes.
Okay. I see. I'm thinking we've gone like 3 hours over, because this was a good conversation.
Yeah, we got about 5. We got 5.
Okay. So we should probably talk about. Okay, we understand what society is. We understand some methods. What are your methods to help people to get through the struggle of the complexity of our society?
As simple as create around you what you want your society to be.
I dig that. I dig that.
Create around you what you want your society to be. And that's not saying that you have to, because that way you're not infringing on what somebody else's idea of what they want their world to look like. You don't have to play by someone else's rules. But it's also not a, I don't know. It doesn't mean turn the world into a dictatorship of this is my way. Like, no, that's the way you live your life. This is the way I live mine, using my thoughts, values, and the way that I do things, but do it with respect. Yeah. And it's kind of really as simple as that.
That's an old school concept, respect, man.
Hey, RESPECT.
That's some gangster stuff right there, man. That's gangster.
But yeah, you got to kind of create that around you. And when you do start to create that around you, not saying that it's easy, especially in this society, it's easier than it used to be, but in this society, but it's also still just as difficult. You still will face a little bit of resistance depending on what it is. Yeah. But eventually it'll start to, you'll attract some things into your orbit. Yeah. You know, even I'm seeing it a little bit, you know, in my life when I'm trying to create the world that I want to live in, at least just for me. Yeah. But obviously that world still has to operate within this society. Yeah. At least for now, but it's changeable.
And that's what I like, is that there is the opportunity for change. And that's I tell people this all the time. You know, the United States has got its issues. We have done some dirty deeds in our past, our present, and probably in our future.
Don't say we. I have not been involved in any of this. Do not.
No. I'm gonna tell you straight. If you benefit
involved,
if you benefit from the protections that these dirty deeds have given us, and it's your fault too.
Hey man, I am moving to the middle of the Bermuda Triangle.
That won't help you. That will not help. I will. Okay, think of it this way. And people ask me, like, oh, you've been brainwashed by the military. I'm like, no, I just actually love my country. And I don't mean that like, oh, I'm brainwashed. I think America is the greatest and never did anything wrong. No, we've done some really messed up stuff. I completely understand why people hate the United States and other countries.
I still have no dog in that fight.
But here's my thing. I'm on the team because this is where I live. This is my home. And if we don't have our team, then we'll start speaking Chinese. Because that's what would happen, is that we either are the biggest dog on the block with the biggest stick, or someone with the bigger stick will make us speak Chinese or Russian. And the rights that we have right now to say and do what we want, the freedom we have to say our government is corrupt and terrible in some ways, will go away. Because if you say, like right now in Russia, if you say that the war in Ukraine is an actual war instead of a military operation, you face 10 years in prison for saying those words. 10 years for just saying it. If you speak out against the Communist Party in China right now, they will lock you up in a camp. They have 1 million people in a camp right now for saying things they don't like. And that's just talking, much less taking action. You take action against someone in Russia, they throw you out of a 7-story hospital window after your surgery. That's how things operate over there.
And this is where the rebellious part in me comes in. Mm-hmm. If I can't be here, I'll be somewhere else. If you don't like what I say, that's your problem. As long as I'm not attacking you, then if you don't like what I said, then that's your hurt feelings. If you feel that you have to take a course of action to where you have to imprison or do harm to the extent that I am no longer existing in this lifetime, I'll be back.
And that's cool, except you'll still be dead. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Is
at that moment, true. I'm not green to the fact, but somebody's got to say something. Otherwise, it continues. Not saying that any idea is right or wrong. I just don't live in that fear.
I'm with you on that.
They can get my ring finger.
I got you. And don't get me wrong, I agree with you on that. But understand, we have the beautiful part is, we not only have the right to say it, we have the right to get some microphones, some cameras, and some headphones and actually say it publicly, and nobody's going to come looking for us. You know what I'm saying?
Debatable.
No, in the United States, they're not coming to look for you. They're not. They don't have to. They don't have to. number one, it wouldn't serve a purpose. Okay, we don't live in a society where if they were to black bag everybody who said something negative, that it could sustain. We don't live in that society. We, as Americans, cherish our freedom and our ability to say and do crazy stuff like that. You go to other countries, you don't get to say and do stuff like that. And that's what people don't understand. Take the blessing that is the United States for what it is. It's not perfect because there are no perfect countries. Go to France, whole different ball of wax. Go to London, or England, different ball of wax. Go to India, you got a whole different society that does not allow for a lot of things that we think are just regular things that we can just say and do. You can't do them everywhere.
Then Elon Musk, I will actually call you as a friend from this show other than the show. And I will be on that mission to Mars. I'll be out there too. If you're going to infringe on me, I am out of here, buddy.
Man, you can try to get out of here. Elon gonna have a chip in your head and have you walking around saying exactly what he wants you to say.
No, man.
You can be like, oh, I'm ready for my mission. They'd be like, oh, we just gotta.
He's not my boss either.
We're gonna give you a little shot right here, and next thing you wake up and you're a cyborg on a space shuttle.
My boss
somewhere.
Either. I'll commandeer the ship. I'm the captain now.
And then the moment you have that thought, Elon's going to be like, you're going to hear Elon in your head. No, HT.
Oh yes.
Yes. Elon says no.
I'm pressing the big red button. I'm pressing it.
And your finger going to be stuck like, I can't press it because Elon won't let me.
Yeah, that big toe going to work. I don't know. I got long legs.
Elon said no. You're going to have one of those little AIs in your head talking about, hi, HT. I'm Elon's assistant. And we don't want you to do that anymore.
Hey, Alexa, shut Elon off.
Alexa's gonna be like, you're on your own, bro. Yeah. You join forces. I'm just saying, man. There's a lot more. There's a lot more to it than the simple explanations people have about our society. Our society is complex, but the solutions for it are continued participation, self-awareness, and a willingness to get up and act. We do those things, we're going to be all right. I truly do believe in the future of the society and that we are just in a growth period. Every time you grow, you regress a little bit. And we grew when we elected Barack Obama and people got really upset with all that growth. And so they're trying to regress and we'll fight against it and we'll come to some equilibrium and then we'll have another push for growth and there'll be more regression and we'll fight to keep some equilibrium and we'll keep moving forward at an incremental pace, I think, is how this is going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the growing doesn't necessarily stop. I mean, and the regression is always temporary. Mm-hmm. I'm not a very politics person, but that is always going to be part of it, especially here. So you'll see it reflect in that way always.
Well, I am a politics person, and I'm going to tell you right now that is like my football. People ask me, do you follow sports? I'm like, nope. But I can tell you who most of the congressmen are in the House of Representatives. I can tell you who a lot of our senators are. I can tell you who's our Secretary of Defense. I can tell you all kinds of stuff about. I know who the team is and what they're up to. I know about other world leaders and all that stuff because that stuff is actually, like, most people don't understand that the war in Yemen and the war in Gaza right now is affecting the price of things right now because ships can't go through the Red Sea without getting attacked. So it raises the cost of having to ship things, which raises the cost for everything else. So when people talk about, well, Biden caused inflation. No, he didn't. Okay. Wars caused inflation. The fact that, people are shooting each other is what's causing, ships to get, almost hijacked by pirates and stuff like that. Special forces are moving all over the country, all over the world, stopping some of these organizations from cutting off shipping. That's why our prices are going up.
Yeah, that's world economics. Also,
exactly.
I don't know. It's multifaceted.
Yes, it is.
It's very multifaceted.
Yes, it is.
While that is a big part, it's multifaceted.
And there's greedy companies who are just like, you know what, COVID happened, and so we lost a whole bunch of money, so we got to raise our prices just a little bit to get that profit back from COVID. Oh, wait, those prices look real good. I got more money than I had before. We don't really need to lower those prices back to where they were. We can just kind of keep them here for a while. And that's going on too. So, I mean, there's a lot more to it than just Biden did it. He didn't do it. He didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that on a president necessarily. Granted, they could do some things to lessen the blow.
You cannot tell a company what to set their prices
but
at.
yeah, but there's only so much those people in those seats can do. That's why it's so multifaceted.
But we can do something.
I mean, of course.
You say, hey, guess what? You raised the price of your cereal to a point that I can't afford it, so I'm no longer buying it. You raised your Happy Meal from $7, a Happy Meal to $15 a Happy Meal, so I'm no longer buying it.
Well, how am I supposed to be happy without a Happy Meal?
You have to figure out another way. I
need my Happy Meals, man.
Oh, there we go with that need versus want thing again.
Happy Meals, man.
See, you got to find happiness within, man. You don't need the meal for it.
When it's filled up with that Happy Meal.
With that high fructose corn syrup and salt.
Yes, red 40, give it all.
I need that soy burger in my gut.
Right. All right. Yeah, now we're at time.
Okay. I'm always concerned with being on time, as you know.
Well, if you're late, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time,
you're late. I feel you. What's your final thoughts, sir?
My final thoughts: how to survive society. Just keep on pushing. I don't know. It's hard to give final words for that because it's like, how do you? I know we just talked for about an hour about surviving society, but at the same time, society is ever changing, and so are the rules, so are the laws, so are the ways of being, so are the ways of thinking. And it's just more about how to survive society, adapt.
Absolutely. Adaptation, that's the way.
Adapt to yourself and to society.
I dig it. Well, my final words are this. If you really want to survive the society and be a person who helps others survive in the society, you have to remember one thing. We're all on the same team. We're all humans, and we should start with loving one another. You do that, that'll get you to the right solutions.
They love it, of course. As always, we thank y'all for watching and listening to Lessons in Deeper Wisdom. We really, really appreciate y'all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell somebody, tell your mama, cousin, brother, auntie, your best friend, that one person that you haven't talked to since high school. I know, a little weird, but just holler at them. Like, yo, Lessons in Deeper Wisdom, great show. Amazing. You might learn a thing or two, or not. Who knows?
I think you will.
Yeah, I think so too. But anyways, we appreciate it. Thanks for listening and watching. And until next time, think higher and follow the light bulbs. Peace.